Your eyes are under attack every single night, and most people have no idea that what they eat before sleep could either quietly repair their vision or slowly make it worse. This is not about expensive treatments or complicated routines. This is about a simple habit that could determine whether your eyesight stays sharp or starts fading faster than it should. And the truth is, one specific fruit eaten at the wrong time does almost nothing. But eaten before sleep, it can work through the night like a silent healer for your eyes, improving clarity, reducing strain, and even supporting long-term vision health in ways most people overlook. I remember a patient once, a man in his late 40s, always tired, always rubbing his eyes. He worked long hours staring at screens, and he kept complaining that his vision was getting blurry at night, especially when driving. He thought it was just age catching up like most people do, but when we looked deeper, it was not just age. It was neglect, small daily habits stacking up over years, poor sleep, late-night snacking, and absolutely no attention to what his eyes needed to recover. He asked a simple question: what can I do naturally? Something easy, something I can stick to. And that question is where everything changed, because the answer was not a pill, not a complicated routine, but a shift in timing and choice of something as simple as fruit. Now here is what most people get wrong. They think fruits are healthy anytime, and while that is mostly true, timing matters more than people realize, especially when it comes to how your body repairs itself at night. Your eyes do not just rest when you sleep. They actively repair, they restore tear balance, they process light exposure damage, and they rely heavily on specific nutrients to do that properly. And this is where one fruit stands out: kiwi. Kiwi is not just another fruit. It is loaded with vitamin C, lutein, and antioxidants that specifically target oxidative stress in the eyes. And oxidative stress is one of the biggest reasons behind declining vision, dryness, and fatigue, especially in people who spend hours in artificial light or on screens. But eating kiwi during the day is not the same as eating it before sleep, because at night your body shifts into repair mode, and nutrients consumed right before sleep are directed more toward restoration rather than immediate energy use. This means those compounds in kiwi are more likely to support eye tissue repair, improve blood circulation to the retina, and help reduce inflammation accumulated during the day. That same patient I mentioned earlier started eating 2 kiwis about an hour before bed. Nothing else changed drastically at first. No fancy supplements, no extreme diet, just that one habit, and within a few weeks, he noticed something subtle but important. His eyes felt less dry in the morning. The burning sensation he used to feel at night started fading, and most importantly, his night vision began to improve. Now think about this. How many people ignore these small signals, the dryness, the strain, the slight blurriness, assuming it is normal, when in reality, it is your body asking for support? Another powerful aspect of kiwi before sleep is its effect on sleep quality itself, and this is something many people miss completely. Kiwi contains serotonin precursors, which help regulate sleep cycles, and better sleep directly translates into better eye recovery because poor sleep increases inflammation, reduces tear production, and accelerates fatigue in the eye muscles. So when you eat kiwi before sleep, you are not just feeding your eyes, you are improving the entire system that allows your eyes to recover. There was also a woman, early 50s, who came in worried about her increasing dependence on glasses. She said her eyes felt heavy all the time, like they never fully rested, and she would wake up with discomfort, almost like her eyes had not slept at all. And when we discussed her routine, she admitted to late dinners, sugary snacks at night, and scrolling on her phone right before bed. We made one small change: replace her late-night snack with kiwi and avoid anything overly processed before sleep. Within a month, she reported that her eyes felt lighter, more refreshed in the morning, and she did not feel that constant heaviness anymore. Now, this does not mean kiwi is magic, but it does mean that the right nutrients at the right time can create noticeable changes. Another fruit that works incredibly well before sleep for eye health is papaya, and this one is often overlooked. Papaya contains beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin a crucial nutrient for maintaining the health of the retina, especially for low-light vision. Vitamin A deficiency is one of the leading causes of night blindness, and even mild deficiencies can cause symptoms like difficulty adjusting to darkness, increased glare sensitivity, and eye fatigue. Eating papaya before sleep gives your body a steady supply of this nutrient during the night, supporting the visual cycle that occurs in the retina. This is particularly beneficial for people who struggle with night driving or feel uncomfortable in dim lighting. But here is where the storytelling becomes important, because habits are not built on information alone, they are built on experience. One evening, that same man who started with kiwi decided to skip it for a few days. He got busy, fell back into old patterns, late dinners, processed snacks, and within a week, he noticed the difference. His eyes felt irritated again, and the clarity he had started to regain was slipping. That moment made him realize something powerful. Consistency matters more than intensity. It is not about doing something extreme once in a while, it is about small, repeatable actions that quietly build over time. And this applies to everyone listening to this. You do not need a complete overhaul of your lifestyle overnight, but you do need to start paying attention to what your body is telling you. Your eyes are one of the most sensitive organs in your body, constantly exposed, constantly working, and rarely given the attention they deserve until something goes wrong. Now let us talk about another fruit that can be surprisingly effective before sleep: cherries. Cherries are rich in melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep, and as mentioned earlier, sleep quality is directly tied to eye health. But cherries also contain antioxidants that help reduce inflammation, and inflammation is a silent contributor to many eye issues, from dryness to more serious conditions over time. Eating a small portion of cherries before bed can help you fall asleep faster, improve sleep depth, and indirectly support the recovery processes that your eyes depend on. Imagine your eyes like a camera lens that has been used all day, exposed to light, dust, strain, and by the end of the day, it needs cleaning and recalibration. Sleep is that process, and the nutrients you provide before sleep determine how effective that process will be. There is also something worth mentioning about what to avoid, because what you do not eat before sleep can be just as important as what you do eat. Sugary snacks, processed foods, and heavy meals before bed can spike blood sugar levels, leading to inflammation and poor sleep quality, both of which negatively impact eye health. High sugar levels can also affect the tiny blood vessels in the eyes, reducing their efficiency over time. So when you replace those habits with something like kiwi, papaya, or cherries, you are not just adding something good, you are removing something harmful. And this is where real change begins, not in complexity, but in simplicity. Now, picture this: a routine where every night, instead of reaching for something processed, you consciously choose a fruit that supports your vision. You give your body the tools it needs to repair, and over weeks and months, those small choices begin to show in how your eyes feel, how clearly you see, and how comfortable your vision remains even after long days. The beauty of this approach is that it does not feel like a burden. It feels natural, sustainable, and effective. And as more people started adopting this habit, something interesting happened. They began to notice improvements, not just in their eyes, but in their overall well-being: better sleep, more energy in the morning, and a sense of taking control over their health in a simple, practical way. Because sometimes the most powerful changes do not come from drastic measures. They come from understanding how your body works and working with it, not against it. Your eyes are working for you every second you are awake, and even while you sleep, they are trying to recover, repair, and prepare for the next day. The question is, are you giving them what they need to do that properly? And once you feel that difference, that reduced strain, that clearer vision, that comfort you did not even realize you were missing, it becomes something you do not want to stop. Because at the end of the day, protecting your vision is not about reacting when something goes wrong. It is about making small decisions every day that prevent those problems from happening in the first place. And once that awareness settles in, something shifts in the way you look at your daily routine, because you begin to understand that your eyes are not separate from the rest of your body. They respond to what you eat, how you sleep, and the habits you repeat without thinking. There is another fruit that deserves attention here, especially for those who struggle with constant eye strain and fatigue, and that is blueberries. Blueberries are often talked about for general health, but when it comes to the eyes, they play a very specific role. They are rich in anthocyanins, compounds that help improve blood flow to the tiny vessels in the retina, and better circulation means better oxygen and nutrient delivery, which is essential for maintaining sharp vision. Now imagine your eyes after a long day, hours of screen exposure, artificial lighting, maybe even stress. All of that creates a kind of internal pressure, not something you feel immediately, but something that builds over time, and this is where blueberries before sleep can quietly support recovery, helping those delicate structures restore balance overnight. There was a young professional, early 30s, who came in with a very modern problem: constant digital exposure. He worked in front of multiple screens, often late into the night, and he complained that his eyes felt tired even when he woke up, which should not happen if the eyes are properly recovering during sleep. When we discussed his routine, it became clear that his evenings were filled with caffeine, late meals, and no real attention to recovery. So we introduced a simple change: a small bowl of blueberries about an hour before bed, combined with reducing screen brightness in the final hour of his day. Within a couple of weeks, he noticed that his eyes were not as heavy in the morning, the redness had reduced, and he felt less dependent on artificial tears throughout the day. This is how subtle but powerful these changes can be. They do not feel dramatic in the moment, but they build into something meaningful. Another fruit that works in a slightly different way is banana. Now most people think of bananas as energy food, something you eat during the day, but they also contain magnesium and potassium, which help relax muscles, including the tiny muscles around the eyes. Eye strain is not just about dryness or light exposure, it is also about muscle fatigue, the constant focusing, adjusting, and reacting to visual input, especially when you are switching between screens and distances. Eating a banana before sleep can help ease that tension, allowing those muscles to fully relax during the night, which contributes to a more refreshed feeling in the morning. There was an older gentleman, retired, who loved reading, but he started noticing that after an hour or two, his eyes would feel strained, and he would have to stop, which frustrated him because reading was one of his favorite activities. Instead of immediately jumping to stronger glasses or medication, we looked at his recovery habits, and one of the changes we introduced was a banana in the evening, paired with better hydration and slightly earlier sleep timing. Over time, he reported that he could read longer without discomfort, and more importantly, his eyes did not feel as tired the next day. These are the kinds of changes that do not make headlines, but they make a difference in real life. Now let us talk about something that often gets ignored: hydration within fruits. Fruits like watermelon and oranges have high water content, and while they may not be the first choice before sleep for everyone, in moderate amounts, they can help maintain hydration levels, which is critical for tear production. Dry eyes are one of the most common complaints, especially in people who spend long hours indoors or in air-conditioned environments, and dehydration plays a bigger role than most people realize. When your body lacks proper hydration, tear production decreases, leading to that gritty, uncomfortable feeling, and over time, this can contribute to more serious irritation. Including a small portion of hydrating fruit in your evening routine can support this balance, ensuring that your eyes remain lubricated and comfortable. There was a middle-aged office worker who constantly complained about dry eyes. He carried eye drops everywhere, using them multiple times a day, but never addressed the root cause. When we looked at his habits, it was clear that his water intake was low, and his diet lacked fresh, hydrating foods. So we made a simple adjustment: increase water during the day, and include a small portion of orange or watermelon in the evening. Within weeks, he found himself reaching for eye drops less frequently, not because the drops changed, but because his body was finally getting what it needed to maintain its own balance. Now, something important to understand here is that these fruits are not isolated solutions. They work best as part of a pattern, a rhythm that your body can rely on. Consistency creates predictability, and your body thrives on that. When you regularly provide the nutrients needed for repair at the same time each night, your system begins to adapt, becoming more efficient at using those nutrients. It is similar to how your body learns sleep patterns. The more consistent you are, the better it responds. Another aspect that cannot be ignored is inflammation, because many eye issues, even those that seem minor, have inflammation at their core. Fruits like kiwi, blueberries, cherries, and papaya all have anti-inflammatory properties, and consuming them before sleep allows your body to address that inflammation during its natural recovery phase. Think of it like giving your body the tools to clean up the damage from the day, reducing stress on the eyes and supporting long-term health. There was a woman who had been dealing with persistent redness in her eyes. She tried different drops, adjusted her screen time, but the issue kept returning. When we reviewed her lifestyle, it became clear that her diet was high in processed foods and low in natural antioxidants, so we focused on adding anti-inflammatory fruits in the evening, along with small dietary adjustments during the day. Over time, the redness reduced, not because of a single change, but because her body was finally able to manage inflammation more effectively. And this brings us to an important point. Your body is always trying to heal, always trying to maintain balance, but it needs the right support. Now imagine the long-term impact of ignoring these small habits. Years of strain, poor recovery, inadequate nutrition. It does not show up immediately, but it builds quietly until one day you notice that your vision is not what it used to be, and by then, the changes are harder to reverse. On the other hand, imagine building a habit where every night you are actively supporting your eye health, not in a complicated way, but in a consistent, intentional way. This is where prevention becomes powerful. Another fruit worth mentioning is avocado. Although often considered differently from typical fruits, it is incredibly rich in healthy fats and lutein, both of which are essential for eye health. Lutein helps filter harmful blue light, protecting the retina, and consuming it before sleep gives your body time to absorb and utilize it during recovery. Healthy fats also improve the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, making the nutrients more effective. Including a small portion of avocado in your evening routine can add another layer of support, especially for those exposed to screens for extended periods. There was a graphic designer who spent almost 10 hours a day in front of high-resolution screens, and he started experiencing sensitivity to light, something that affected his work directly. We introduced avocado into his evening routine, along with a few other small changes, and over time, he reported reduced sensitivity and improved comfort during long working hours. Again, not an instant fix, but a steady improvement. Now consider how all of these elements come together. The antioxidants, the vitamins, the hydration, the sleep support, they are not working in isolation. They are part of a system. And your role is not to control every detail, but to provide the right inputs consistently. One of the biggest mistakes people make is looking for quick results, expecting immediate change. But the body does not work that way, especially when it comes to something as delicate as vision. What it responds to is consistency, repetition, and balance. There is also a psychological aspect to this, because when you start taking small, intentional actions for your health, it changes your mindset. You become more aware, more attentive, and more connected to your body's needs. And that awareness often leads to other positive changes: better sleep habits, improved diet, reduced screen exposure before bed. Everything starts to align. Now think about your current routine. What do you usually eat before sleep? Or do you eat at all? Do you give your body something that supports recovery? Or do you unknowingly add stress to it? Because the difference between those two approaches is not small, it is significant over time. Your eyes are not asking for something complicated. They are asking for support, for consistency, for care that matches the effort they put in every day. And once you begin to provide that, once it becomes part of your nightly rhythm, you will start to notice those subtle changes, the kind that tell you something is working, even if it is not dramatic at first. Less dryness, less strain, clearer focus, more comfort. These are the signals that your body is responding. And as those signals become more consistent, they reinforce the habit, making it easier to continue. Because at that point, it is no longer something you have to force. It becomes something you naturally do. And that is where real, lasting change begins. And over time, those small nightly choices begin to shape something much bigger than you expect. Because vision is not just about what you see today, it is about how well you will see years from now, and every habit you build quietly contributes to that outcome. You may not notice a dramatic shift overnight, but your eyes will notice, your body will notice, and slowly, steadily, things begin to feel different, more comfortable, more stable, more reliable. What once felt like normal strain starts to fade. What once felt like inevitable decline begins to slow down, and you realize that control was always in your hands, just hidden in the details of your routine. So tonight, when you reach that moment before sleep, pause for a second and think about what you are about to give your body, because that simple choice, that one small decision, could be working through the night, supporting your eyes, protecting your vision, and building a future where clarity is not something you struggle to hold on to, but something you continue to experience with ease.